on, party people. Right, let's Tonya. Hello, Tonya. Neil has stopped by. Wisdom has stopped by. Hello, Duck. All right. Today is July 2nd, 2025. It's a Wednesday, middle of the week. Call it Hump Day. And we have lots of stuff going on in the news. And my question is America becoming Germany 2.0? That's what I would like to know. Get thoughts on that? You know, to me, there's a lot of indication that we're going that way. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want it to happen. I certainly hope it doesn't. I hope there's some way to stop this. Just don't know what that way would be. So we're going to hopefully figure it out. Rand W., hello, welcome. If anyone has any questions or comments about it, either make a comment in the live or come on up and talk about it. He is here. Brill, hello. So I saw a couple things today. I think the thing that shocked me the most is that Abrego Garcia asked a judge to detain him. And according to lawyers that I heard speak about this, this is unheard of. But it makes sense because Garcia is worried that if he gets released, he's going to get hunted again on these trumped up charges and start the cycle all over again and, get deported. So he's trying to avoid that. I don't know all the details of it, but I did hear a summary of the situation, and it just sounds horrendous to me that this could be going on. I'm a watch says for his own protection. Yeah, clearly. And that's really messed up, I think. To have to go through something like that. Do 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 do. Okay. Trying to do some stuff here. Multitasking is definitely not my thing. There. I wonder if his wife and family can visit him. I don't know. I don't know if the judge granted that. I don't know the follow-up to it, so I do have to dig in. I hope they can. That would be great if they could. Although I've had the experience of visiting someone in a prison, and it's not fun. You actually feel, well, I don't want to say you. I felt like a prisoner myself whenever I would go to visit because they treat you like you're a prisoner. Because obviously they're they're worried about people sneaking in stuff, all that. So, essentially every visitor is treated like a suspect. It's kind of awful. Okay. Uh, gotcha. So yeah, but I mean, just the fact that he requested that alone, that's really wild. you know, he had to he and his lawyer had to sit down and think of a way to protect him. Yeah, especially for the children. Whenever I was visiting someone, that was always the saddest thing to me, is to see, you know, how depending on the age of the child and how aware they were of what was going on, if they were old enough and they kind of had some understanding of what was going on, you could see the pain on their face, you know. It was a long time ago, but I remember it still. It was just all these little images that I had of what was going on. Um, you just remember weird things here and there. But a lot of it was like, fathers trying to talk to their children, and sometimes the children like were uncomfortable, you know. Danny says, "Unc, you look so tasty." That's the first time I've heard that. Thank you. That's a very kind compliment. Um, let's see. Danny Dan. I right. Snowbuddy Master. That's a very funny username. So as always, folks, I see you're at it, tapping the screen already. I sincerely appreciate that. It's one of those annoying things that we're going to have to ask over and over again, but it's the only way to let TikTok know that we're here and to hopefully get some momentum going and getting connected, to other people on the For You page, the whole stuff. So tap, I've got a live goal up. Hopefully that's available to people. And definitely share the live. When you hit the share icon, you'll just get a whole row of your friends. You can pick, I think, up to 15 of them at the same time. Hit send and then do another 15 if you are so inclined. Be lovely. But yeah, just let's invite people to the party. And you know what? I actually forgot something pretty important regarding inviting people. I forgot my folks uh another platform. Let's see. Go. Please pardon me. I've been on lives all day and I'm a little like my brain's a little numb. And I think mostly it's just I'm bummed out that this is what's happening. Let's see. Be straining. That's a very interesting username. I guess you're a keyboard warrior, wannabe tough guy. Germany 2.0, smiley face. The left are basically the boy who cried wolf. Sure, because nothing that we've said has come true, right? He didn't tank the economy with the crazy tariffs in the beginning of the year, right? Thankfully, it's starting to bounce back, but Wall Street is still expressing a lot of uncertainty, which is never good. And once this bill is signed, we might see uh, some real problems. But you guys said that he was all about peace, right? And we said no, he doesn't seem to be about peace based on what he did in his first time up. What's up, WKRP? I am inviting you up. Um, so even though you don't understand what we're saying because you're probably not that bright, we know what we're saying. What's up, WKRP?
Oh, hey, you got it, man. I just wanted to let you know also that freezing for some reason. I don't know
Say
why.
again?
The live is. It's freezing.
The live is freezing? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it stops for about a sec, and then it.
Yeah, who knows? That could be a TikTok thing. Yeah, I'm literally have the same setup that I had yesterday, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what that's about.
Okay, yeah, because I notice all the time you don't freeze. That's why I was saying. Yeah, might be a TikTok because you don't usually freeze on here.
Yeah. If it happens again tomorrow, then maybe I'll change the setup. Because actually, it's not exactly the same. Now that I think about it, I have a different camera today than I was using yesterday. Because I'm actually using two cameras. But the second camera is a slightly different
Okay,
one.
yeah,
So if it freezes again tomorrow, then maybe I'll know it's the camera.
got you,
Yeah,
man.
inflation. I'm a watch says inflation
So
2.7%. It was 2.4 under Biden. Yeah, I think
yeah,
and yeah, I mean the economic picture right now is kind of on hold because the market did
yeah.
kind of bounce back. But from what I'm hearing from economists is that people are worried about what's going to happen when this bill passes. So that's
Yeah, yeah,
we're
you're right
we're
about
we
it.
still have a long road ahead to see what's going to happen. But
Well, actually, before I came on, I saw that Microsoft is laying off 9,000 people in the month this month.
yeah, they announced that I think yesterday. Um, but yeah, I
Wow.
mean, the there the thing about the stock market is that it's only one of several economic indicators, right? And so the stock
Yeah,
market, it is good that it bounced back, no question about it. Uh, but we don't know if it's going to stay there.
most definitely. Yeah,
You know, I can't
I
predict it. I'm
got you.
not an economist. I just listen to economists to try to get a footing what's going on. Hey, Danny, I see you out there. Danny comes on and he gets busy right away, sharing and liking and all that good stuff. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Um, so
Yeah, man.
send Danny an invite. The other thing is that it's real swampy where I am now, and I can't seem to stop sweating.
Real.
Oh, hello.
Hey, Danny.
Hey,
Hey,
Danny.
what's up, WKRP Live TV? Are we
Hey,
doing
Danny.
trivia
Hey,
for?
I'm
Just
in
out
the
of
place to be.
curiosity, are you seeing any like stuttering or freezing on the screen?
No, but I was told that I had some during my life.
Yeah. So I didn't see any on your live, but
Wow.
so it could just be a TikTok thing, whatever.
They
I
like
can't
it.
imagine the technology
Yeah,
that it
might
takes to
be.
keep something like this running, especially with all these people live streaming. I mean, imagine how much bandwidth is necessary to accommodate just in America, you're looking at 170 million users. And who knows how many lives are going on,
Who's that
concurrently.
bullet
Yeah, let's not say his
training?
username.
Training. You just listen. Okay. Okay.
Bullet, why don't you come up instead of being weird in the comment section? I'm inviting you up because I can tell a wannabe tough guy just by the name that he gave himself, you know. Um, and he just has he's another propaganda parrot, obviously. Because I didn't. He's like, you just listen to economists and trust them blindly, huh? Did I say I trust anybody blindly? No, I didn't say that. And he says, very Democrat of you, which is interesting because I'm not a Democrat.
I don't know
But
why this.
what'd you say, WKRP? Okay, I can't hear you. I don't know what's going on your end. So, Danny, um, it seems like we are, let's see. Wait a second. Unless I'm, what is he saying? Oh, he's using the excuse that he's at work. Yeah.
Of course.
Well, it says he's at work. Well, you know what happens when they talk a lot of shit and then and then refuse to come up and use that lame excuse. Blocked. Eric the Weefo. The awful. What am I saying? That was a funny brain fart. Eric the Awful. And you were here last night. Thank you for coming back. People are so entrenched with the two-party that they can't see the other's thoughts. That's not my problem at all because A, I'm not entrenched in any party, and it's very easy for me to see their thoughts. They make it very clear what they think, and what they are generally is people that have a complete lack of empathy, and they're heartless, and just they they only talk from the same playbook. They all say the same stuff night after night. They never bother to try and get any smarter. They never try to inform themselves about anything. Just blah 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 blah. I mean, what's been your experience with that, Danny?
Well, I've noticed that, like you said, they repeat the same talking points night after night, day after day. Uh, and you're spot on. Propaganda parrots. That's all they are.
Yeah.
I've noticed though the last couple of lives I've had, I don't have that many maggots visiting my room. I don't know if it's because uh, maybe they don't like me because I'm a Democrat, or maybe it's because you're on the panel and they're afraid to debate you.
I doubt
Which is,
it's that.
I don't care. But thing is, I've noticed that it's gone down some. I don't have that many Maggies coming in the room.
Well, I wouldn't be able to tell you what it is, and it seems like most progressive people that go live are saying similar things. And I think it's because they're running out of excuses. I think at a certain point, when you find yourself in a situation where you're trying to defend the indefensible, it's just impossible. Like, how can you possibly defend this? You know, I think that's what it is more than anything else.
Well, Vice President Harris came out with a staging letter of the big beautiful bill, and talking about it, how the Republicans are. What's going to happen is totally going to be in their fault. Totally going to be their responsibility.
Yeah.
And she was. I mean, it was bad. I mean, I shared it with you. You'll probably see it when you get off.
Okay.
Luke
Um.
Blazey shared it on TikTok.
Oh yeah. I I kind of like Luke's content, but he's so performative that he annoys me a lot. So
Hmm.
I have a hard time watching him. But Eric the Awful, I can't invite you for some reason, but you might be able to invite yourself. So if you do want to come up, if not, of course, feel free to keep commenting. But if you'd like to come up, uh, feel free.
Hey, Yoda,
Yeah,
can you hear me? Yoda,
I can hear you, but I can't see you. That's kind of interesting.
somehow I went
Who's
off the
that?
box. Somehow I went off the box.
Oh, Luke, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that, again,
What's going on with that?
it's nothing to be alarmed about. It's technology. I don't like to focus about when it goes wrong since it goes right so often. So it's just a glitch, but we hear you.
Yeah. Well, I'm here, so you can go. You just
Good.
can't see me, but I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah. That's good. And there seems to be a little bit of a delay, but we can work with that. We're used to that. So I do have a live goal. I don't even remember what it was. It came on automatically. It's like something. What is it?
I don't see it. Where is it?
It's a greeting heart. You don't see it at the top?
I said, no,
Nuh-uh.
I don't.
Oh, that's interesting. That happens
What's
sometimes.
going on with
Let
you?
me take it easy. Take it easy. It's okay. We'll get through
I got no problem.
it.
I got you, man.
Well,
I
it
just
was
hate
um,
it when
too
things
hard.
go the way.
so
It was too.
I'll put up a rose goal, and I'll make it 100 of them. That those are easy to get knocked out.
There you go.
So
Okay, you
so I have so many thoughts simultaneously because I really just can't believe what I'm seeing consistently from this criminal administration. You know, it's just so hard to stand by and watch people getting hurt uh, for no reason, and it's such a wide swath of people that are being affected, and people who are, you know, they're not the enemy, they're not a threat to America. You know, you're hurting children, you're hurting the disabled, you're hurting the elderly, you're making it difficult for people to make a living. Like, how is this in any way, shape, or form good? Is there an end game that anybody sees that I can't see? Because I don't understand how this is beneficial in any way to the vast majority of Americans. I definitely see how it's beneficial to, like, you know, a handful of millionaires and billionaires for sure. You know, if you
yeah,
make $1 million or more per year, you're definitely going to benefit in ways that are not even meaningful to you. You're already wealthy, you know, so like this, like, oh, you're going to save in taxes and you got this loophole and that, like, okay, that means almost nothing to your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no sea change, there's no big benefit. There's just, oh, okay, billionaires uh, get to save some money in taxes, and some people in certain industries get to make more money that they don't need to make. And I don't begrudge wealthy people. I know, like Bernie Sanders says that billionaires shouldn't exist. I don't really get that point of view, but okay, you know, some people think that, but I don't. I don't really believe that
yeah,
that's a thing. Like, you know, you're in a country that can facilitate making a good living, right? And some people make an extraordinarily good living, and I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with people who benefit from all the things that are
yeah,
available to them in America and then refuse to pay their fair share. You know,
yeah.
they're
That's the
fighting over
problem.
a
They
two
don't want
percent
to.
raise. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's true. And I didn't know Meta was getting paid so much money from the government as well. I'm like, wow,
But look
Zuckerberg.
at the largest oil companies in
Yeah,
America. This the six largest companies. They make hundreds of billions
whew,
in
yeah,
profit. You know, like at least over $100 billion in profit collectively every year, and sometimes way more than that. And they're getting government subsidies.
that's crazy.
How does that make sense? Why is Walmart getting all sorts of subsidies?
Whew,
Why?
man,
Why don't they
buddy,
have to
buddy.
pay their fair share? They are selling their wares in America. They're not paying their workers. They don't have to pay certain taxes. They have all these loopholes. And then the American public has to subsidize their employees. Why? They can easily pay everybody better. You know, like, you know what? This is an interesting question. What do you think a good minimum wage would be? Let's start with WKRP.
A good minimum wage. I'm gonna say. I know a lot of people say. I say a good about maybe. I'd say about $17 an hour, something like that.
Okay,
Just
so
minimum wage.
let's do the math on that. Let's do 17 times 40. Okay. And what's your idea, Danny? What's a good minimum wage?
Well, based on the cost of living of the cost to live nowadays, I would say $30 or $40 an hour
Yeah,
would
I
be
would
as a
definitely be
minimum.
inclined to agree with you. I would say 30, because $30,000, I mean $30 an hour is only $60,000 a year. And I don't want to say only like that's a meaningless number, but that's not like making a lot of money. That's barely making it, you know? And because what we understand is $7.25 does not meet the cost of living anywhere in America, even
Anyway,
in the
right about
poorest
that.
state, right? So even though 17 is better, that's only $35,000 a year, right? So now we're still at, basically struggling living.
Yeah,
60,000 at least, it's like you're not stressed out every second. You could put
yeah,
a couple
yeah.
thousand away for an emergency. Like when this is not the case anymore, but when I was at the height of my earning power, in my 30s, I always had 5 grand in the bank so that, if I needed a new transmission or something went
Yeah,
wrong, or whatever it was, I got hurt, had to take some time off, I was never
yeah,
stressed. And, if
Right.
if it cost me 2 grand to repair the car, then I would just,
yeah.
without even thinking about it,
Just
okay,
get
here you go, we're done. Nothing gets affected.
know
And
what you
then I
mean.
just slowly put that
Yeah.
2,000 back in, so that bring it back to 5,000 again. And that's how I lived for a very long time. And it was very comfortable to live that way, knowing that, regular types of emergencies weren't going to be the end of everything, you know? And so, when we're talking a minimum wage, like, why can't it just be guaranteed that everybody makes a certain amount of money? That just to maintain a somewhat dignified standard of living. And look, if you
Because they
live in
don't want
places that are
everybody
cheaper,
on the level.
then fine, you get to benefit a little bit more. But if you live someplace a little bit more expensive, then at least you're not like struggling and stressed out every single month. There are people that they get to the end of the month, and either they just make it or they fall behind a little bit, and that's like the worst thing. Once you start falling behind on your bills, chances are you'll never catch up. And
Nope, you
like
won't.
I just don't see the
That's the truth.
need
You
to
said
have
it, brother.
people live in that circumstance all the time.
You sure said that, man. That's the gospel. Once you get low, start not being able to pay, and then try to catch up, man, it's like you seems like you're going farther and further back down. Most definitely.
Yeah, and the way it is now, like landlords know that they could get so much for their apartment or whatever, so like they're just waiting for you to fuck up. Like you fall, if you can't come up with rent one month, they're not even waiting anymore. They will go to court immediately to start the eviction process.
Yes,
you
sir.
know
What happened to WKRP?
he's still
You
here.
can't hear me?
I hear him. I hear you,
No,
WKRP. Do you hear him, Danny?
no.
Oh,
I
that's
think if he
interesting.
were to get out of
So
the app
yeah,
and come back,
WKRP, drop down and request back up again, please.
Okay, cool.
he may have to get out of the app and come back in completely.
Yeah, I just suggested that to him. I think there's a delay going on. So we'll I'm guessing he will be back momentarily. But yeah, it is really a
It's
wild
actually
time, man. It is really a wild time. I and again,
There
this
we go.
is this is the thing. Now we see you. Danny, can you hear him now?
oh yeah, I can see that
Hear me?
Nice. There you
handsome
go.
face.
Okay.
We see that handsome face of his. So,
Yep.
I was talking earlier about Abrego Garcia. I don't know if you guys saw this. I just learned about this today. I have to do better at like digging into stories, but I got the summary of what's going on. He has requested something that basically never happened, and that is, he was set to be released, and he asked if he could be detained, and he did that so that he could protect himself from the inevitable thing that we know is coming if he gets released. Because Dump wants to make an
Yeah,
example of him,
yeah.
and he wants to show the Supreme Court that they're not going to get the better of him. So he is actually asking to remain incarcerated. Like, what does that do to a person
Yeah,
psychologically?
you ain't lying. That's the worst thing. I mean, you got to be fearful for your life, and you just and to rather stay incarcerated. And I also heard Yoda that they said he was tortured in can I use that word in
I have
El
no idea.
Salvador too.
Who knows? Um.
Abused, abused.
So so I'm glad you mentioned the fear part, because Tom Hooman, that walking sack of shit, he
Oh yeah,
said that he is not living with his life now with his wife. Now I don't know if this is true, but this is what he said. He said he's not living with
true.
his
Yeah,
life
that's
right now because he
yeah.
is getting threats, and he's afraid because people are coming after him. And I saw that
Huh.
and I said, well, isn't that just fucking ironic?
Right.
You're going to whine and complain about people coming after you. You don't like that feeling, do you? Right? But you're willing to inflict that feeling on hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions. Right? Because on your live earlier, Danny, two of the ladies that were on there were talking about how Los Angeles is so different now because the street vendors are gone, the music is gone, people, you can feel the tension in the air. Like, why does America have to be this way?
Well, even when he was in the first time, fear mongering was his forte. President Trump loved to see that happen. Matter of fact, when you went to his rallies and some protester would come in, he'd say, "Kick the shit out of him, grab him, throw him out of the goddamn building." The press behind there, if you want to go ahead and take care of them, go ahead and take care of them. They're all fake news anyway. What kind of leader leads like that?
Well,
You
he's
know?
certainly no kind of leader.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he's president of the divided states of America. I don't call it the United anymore. And he's president of the divided states of America. And I asked the guy, I don't know if you were on my live that day when I asked the person, I said, when have you shown, has President Trump shown any sign that he's trying to unite the country? And the
I
guy couldn't
remember that.
answer the question.
Yeah, I
Remember
remember.
that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and WKRP, maybe you could weigh in on this. In your recollection, either in your own experience or in school or reading history on your own, can you point to any time from 1492 on that America was united?
Good question. Uh, America was united. Well, it's more look like maybe so in the 90s.
You think America was united
Say
in the
92.
90s? So 92
More
was
so than it
Rodney
is
King,
now.
right? 90 and 94, 95 was OJ. You think
Yep.
they were united?
Yeah. Okay, well let me go back and look.
And and look, I this is all opinions, right? So I'm just curious, like, can anybody
I mean
in
like
the
more
chat,
than now.
like try to
Yeah.
tell me a time, and I'll be as generous as I possibly can, like a 5-year period where America was united, right? I used to ask for a 20-year period, but then I realized that was too stringent. So just a tiny 5-year window when America was united. Eric says 9/12, the day after 9/11. That is completely wrong. Just ask anyone from the Middle East. I was in New York City on 9/11, and I know that there was no unification after 9/11. Just the opposite.
Yep.
Lady Blue says there was never a time where we were united. I happen to agree with you, Lady Blue, and welcome. Thank you for being here. So, folks, we're 35 minutes in. We are moving very slowly this evening, and I know why. We're having a great conversation, and you're into it, and you forget to tap. But please, please, please keep tapping that screen. Let's get us to 20,000 within the next 20 minutes. That would be spectacular, and I know you can do it. I know the 14 of you in here can do it. I have faith. I believe in you. Stretch your fingers, warm them up.
Yeah, put the Coors down.
Yeah.
Both hands.
So Danny, anything on that? Do you feel like America was ever united?
No, not one bit. I uh, I have never, even including when the country first started and became their own country, they weren't even united then because there was still turmoil going on in our country at the 13 colonies. They couldn't get along even then. So no,
Right.
never been united.
And Eric, nobody knows everything, so don't you worry about it. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just giving you my perspective on it, you know. But the list of what I don't know is almost infinitely longer than the list of what I know. And I am comfortable with that reality. But yeah, I'm with you, Danny. Like all this United We Stand, the greatest country in the world, all that stuff, and let's talk about that too. Like, but one thought at a time. So, United We Stand. That sounds like propaganda to me. It sounds like the kind of propaganda that is necessary for any country, because this is not unique to America, right? Every country seeks to create an emotional connection with the citizens. They want the citizens proud, which frankly I don't know what the source of pride would be, because for me, I'm only proud of things that I accomplish. And being born somewhere is not an accomplishment, right? But people feel like, well, they were born in America, so it must be the greatest place on earth. And I know why. And I know why it starts early, because when you're 5 years old and you step into kindergarten for the first time, that's the first time they teach you the anthem. And they do that because 13 years later, you're going to be 18, and they're going to need you to throw yourself away for some big corporations. As they try to chew up the scenery and get more land and get more resources and get more money, they're going to need you to sacrifice yourself for that, right? And so I get it. Every country does it, but it's still propaganda. There's no real truth to it, you know? Um, and along those lines, uh, we're still trying to make America great again. And I want to know when it was great.
Me too.
So all right. So you and I are in the same boat. WKRP, you seem to be more positive than we are, more positive energy. So do you think that America is great or was great in the past?
No, I don't think it's great now. Definitely, I don't think it has ever been so much as great, but tolerable. I put it like that.
Yeah. Well, and the problem with tolerance is that the definition of tolerance is to get used to something unpleasant, right? So if you're saying America was tolerable, I could get behind that. It's an unpleasant place that we've just kind of said, well, this is what we got. I'm not moving anywhere. So this is my place. And so I'm gonna I'm gonna accept all the shittiness of it because, people I love live here and I want to just rock with them. Is that basically the idea?
It's not that bad. Now, don't get me wrong, but just certain aspects of certain things, especially when it comes to racism and
So
different
what
things.
what do you think is good?
But everybody just love have unity for each other.
No, no, no,
No
no. What
bickering
what do you
or
think is what do you
nobody
think is
want.
good about America?
Well, it's the land of the free. I can say that.
Oh, really? Are you
Supposedly,
sure?
used
Are
to
you
be.
sure?
Used to be.
No,
Used
no,
to be.
no, no. You have to understand that for the longest time, America has had the highest percentage of its citizens in prisons than any other country. So it's
Yeah.
literally the least free country on earth.
or at war, one or the other.
Mm.
So okay, so the idea of freedom is is like a very murky idea because you know right now it certainly ain't feeling free, and for a lot of people for the longest time there was no sense of freedom, and for the large prison population they're definitely not free. So that's another great line of propaganda. It's a thing that is pushed down our throats for our whole life, is that, oh, land of the free. And by the way, in the Star Spangled Banner, when they said land of the free,
Home of the brave.
they were not
Yeah, home of the brave.
talking about everybody. When they said land of the free referred to white tea people who were free.
Yep.
They were
Yeah, I
specifically
know. You
ignoring people of color. So even when they wrote those words, it was a lie.
And another thing on this whole thing is that that we were we had a draft in this country from 1941 to 1973
Yes.
that the draft the 18-year-old kids in the military, regardless we were in a conflict or not. That's how long they kept the draft going. But selective service was still going on after that. You had to sign up just in case they wanted to bring the draft back. That don't sound too free to me.
By the way, what you're referring to is SSS.gov, which is the Selective
Yep.
Service System. It is still very
Yep.
much running, and every young man between the age of 18 and 25 has to register for it.
Yep.
Women do not have to register for it. So they got the right to vote, but unfortunately don't have the same level of responsibility there. And that's just a statement of fact. And if someone doesn't like that I'm saying that, too bad. I like to state facts. And a lot of people like to point out that, oh, there hasn't been the draft since 1973. That's true. But that doesn't mean there
Yeah.
can't be another one. And the way this is going, it's likely that there's going to be another one. And also in uh, in the Eastern Bloc, there was recently the thing with Ukraine where all of the ladies got to leave and all of the men had to stay behind, right? So again, another example of maybe not so great.
And for you people in the chat, I can talk about the draft because I was drafted. I know about the draft, how it works. I was number 32 when I got drafted in 69.
Eyes of Fire makes an interesting observation. That's going to empty the prison population drafted. I don't know, Danny. Do prisoners normally get drafted?
Nope.
Yeah.
Matter
So
of fact, back in my day, if you had a felony, you couldn't even get in the military.
uh,
Now they got waivers for it, but not
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. And now
My
you can
day.
become president with felonies.
Yep.
So yeah, I think the thing about for-profit prisons is that most wealthy people have them in their portfolio. That's why this thing that we're seeing in the Everglades is just the beginning. There's going to be more of these pop-up prisons all over. I can virtually guarantee you that, and I don't guarantee too many things
Yep.
because a lot of people make a lot of money on that stuff. Because it's not just the
Oh,
prisons themselves. There's an ecosystem around prisons. Very often, like in the Northeast, all of these tiny towns along the thruway, which is that the thing that goes from south to north to all the way from New York City to Canada, is all of those little towns. Most of those little towns, their main industry is prison,
yep.
and almost everybody in the town works for the prison. A lot of like siblings work in the same place, you know. So when you have that much of a profit incentive, and that doesn't count all of the vendors that sell to prison, all the food and everything else that they need to keep a prison going, this is, so a lot of people stand to make a lot of money. That's why they're not going to empty the prisons, more than likely. And Adrenaline R says felonies and being a traitor. Yes, you're referring to Donnie Dump. Yes, absolutely. I agree. Agree that he's a traitor. So I wanted to, well, before I move on, any thoughts on what I just said, gentlemen?
No, you were pretty accurate. I thought pretty much.
All right. WKRP, anything? All right. He's napping. So,
He's got kids. I'm sure.
I know. And I love that he even puts in any effort to be part of this because I know he's always busy. But I saw that because of the NIH cuts, essentially cancer research is going away.
Yep.
And I didn't know this. It seems obvious, but I just never thought of this. Some of these studies for cancer have been going on for decades. And, there are some people that are alive because of these studies.
I'm one of them.
There you go.
You are one of them.
Well, I never had cancer, so I didn't
Oh, I
benefit
did.
from that.
I had cancer.
Right.
When I was
So,
in the army, I had
right. Now, did you get like traditional treatment or was it experimental?
No, I actually got chemotherapy and radiation treatment,
Oh, wow.
and they actually cut they removed my left testicle. That's where the cancer was, but they still
Wow.
radiated me and chemoed me.
Damn. That is rough.
Well, I was
Now,
in the hospital from July to October. That's how long I was at Walter Reed.
wow. Man, I spent a week in the hospital and that was one of the worst experiences of my life. I was under the mistaken impression that I was going to be able to get some sleep. Boy, was I wrong.
Oh no, you can't get no sleep. They'll wake you up to give you a sleeping pill. What are you talking about?
Right.
I'm serious.
Right. No, I know I'm laughing because I know that's 100% true. Like in my case, since I had brain surgery, they're very, very vigilant about monitoring anybody that
Right.
has brain surgery because it's very traumatic. It can go wrong so many different ways. And luckily none of those ways, like I escaped most of those horrible possibilities, but um like it seemed like every half hour to an hour somebody was doing something to me, whether it
Yep.
was giving me medication or drawing blood or something. It was just a constant thing where they would just, and I just barely got any sleep for a whole week. I barely got any sleep. And it really messed me up. Like there's a reason why sleep is a form of breaking people, like sleep deprivation is a form of breaking people when you're interrogating them. The
Hmm.
longer, the longer you stay, the longer you stay up, the more your mind starts to just melt.
Well, I was in a coma for 6 weeks when I got shot the first time
Damn.
in Vietnam, and I was in the hospital. I woke up at Walter Reed, not at Tripler. I was in Hawaii for 2 weeks. Didn't even know I was there. But then when
Wow.
they moved me to, and I woke up there and I had a TBI, obviously, because I got shot in the temple by the temple.
Right.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
but
Let's
it
remember
didn't go.
TikTok language.
Oh, excuse me. I was poo pooed at the by the temple.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it didn't go in
Right.
uh,
Wow.
inside. But it knocked me the hell out. It put me to sleep for 6 weeks. That's a hell of a drug, hell of a sleeping pill. But even in the coma, you don't really rest because I think things are going on in your mind. But
Yeah.
I woke up exhausted from that. Even when I woke up, I
Yeah. Yeah.
wondered where the hell I was,
Yeah. Because
and I couldn't see
that's
out of
not
my left
real
eye.
sleep.
I know, and I couldn't see out of my left eye because it was traumatized from it,
Wow.
from the
That's
injury.
wild.
So, and I couldn't speak very good because of my left side was kind of like a stroke at the time.
Man,
So,
that's wild.
but they
Well,
got me back into shape. I stayed 22 years, and I'm blessed that they took good care of me. But
mhm,
but that's I understand what you're saying. Why that grandma just said to me, they saved me for her. So, so
nice.
I would,
Well, Eyes of Fire has a question for me. How long ago was your treatment? This was 2012. April 25th is when I was diagnosed. And then, no, I'm sorry, April 23rd is when I was diagnosed. The next day, they did a short procedure. They went in through my groin to block the blood flow to the tumor, and which was between my brain and my skull. And then the next day, they popped the top and scooped out the gunk. And luckily, it was benign. And I was very, very fortunate. I walked out of the hospital 5 days later and didn't have any of the long list of side effects. A couple of things occurred in the 2 weeks after, but after that ordeal, it got easier and easier. So I'm very lucky because they actually read me a list of all the things that could go wrong after the surgery because they're required to, you know. And it was shocking how many things could go wrong. But anyway, so in your case, you had traditional treatment, Danny, but for a lot of people, all of these studies and new treatments that come up are the only reason they're still with us. And the fact that this is all just going away, like there are people now left hopeless, like just, oh, their lifeline just went away. Some people are in the middle of getting treated because of these studies.
they're
Maybe they
trying to
signed
stop.
on a year or so ago or whatever it is, and they've been getting treatments, and now they're just going to go away.
That's insane.
WKRP, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, wow, that is something for both of y'all to go through something like that's very traumatic.
Yeah,
I
for me,
mean,
luckily,
whew,
it wasn't that bad. Hi, Darlene, how you doing?
yeah,
It really wasn't that bad. I mean, there was a dude that was admitted like a day or I think a day after I was, or a day or two maybe. Um, because I did share a room with someone briefly, and this guy had gotten attacked by someone using a hammer and just like tore a chunk
Goodness.
of his skull out, and like, that guy was, I mean, he had to go double what I went through, because what I went through was internal. It was organic. It wasn't an external injury. This guy had someone try to cave his head in, you know, and he was definitely worse off than I was. So, and that's one of the things that, like, I don't normally compare myself to anybody,
Oh,
but sometimes I like to put things in perspective and realize that other people have it way worse than I do, and it helps me stay happy. See, where are we? We're at 13,000. All right, we're moving slowly tonight for some reason, but my live goal, I got 59 out of 100 roses. That's cool. We're getting there. We're getting there. I appreciate you, Eric, and Eyes of Fire, who sent a donut. Danny sent roses. You guys are great. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, so I just from what I heard earlier, they're still working on the bill. Danny, I know that you feel very strongly about the idea that they're not going to make the deadline on the 4th.
No, I don't. I don't see it because I have a gut feeling that they're going to they're going to make some changes. It's going to have to go back to the Senate, and so we're going to have a ping pong here for. I would say I would be surprised they have it all together by the 15th, in the on the president's desk.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really paid attention to the procedures. I just always heard, this bill was passed or this bill was rejected or whatever, but I never really I never cared. I never wanted to know the inner workings of the government. I'm reluctantly learning more as time goes on, but yeah, this just, to me, it just feels like an enormous clusterfuck, because no matter what they take out of it, it only really takes one or two of these provisions to change America drastically, and that's something that I'm concerned about. I was optimistic is here. Hi, invite you up if I can't invite you up for some reason. So please invite yourself up if you want to come up. Um, but yeah, like I wish I could figure out what to do, because this is like the only thing I can think of. Like, just keep trying to spread the word. And I know it's it's screaming into the void sometimes, but I think it's also somewhat therapeutic. Like, I love the fact that we have this community of ours and we support each other in these lives, and in some cases talk to each other offline, and that definitely helps. But I'm still frustrated. How do you guys manage with that? WKRP, I know you have a very busy life. You have children that you're dealing with, but like, do you ever feel like I do, that it's just too frustrating and there's nothing you can do?
lately every day. Feel like a panic attack just about every day.
See, you're
Every
you're you're I'm not trying to embarrass you, but you're doing the guy thing of trying to laugh through discomfort, and I get that.
yeah,
Um, but if you take the laugh out of what you're saying, it's not at all funny, right? Like, being
yeah, you're
stressed
right
out
about
every
that.
day over this shit is awful, you know?
Yeah, anxiety, and I have to cut away from it and listen to something. Sometimes even some sultry music, something that just takes my mind away from this, and just try to
Oh yeah.
relax, even with the family, because it can really. I see how people can get depressed and oppressed by these things that's going on right now.
Yeah. No, and I encourage that, and I support you 100% in your efforts to find some kind of balance and find a way to make yourself okay through all this stuff, because that's what I try to do too. I have my rituals, and I have like I like to watch a film every day because that's like a way for me to turn off my
Most
brain from one thing and turn it on
yeah,
to something else. And I definitely love
most
music.
definitely.
I bit the bullet and did a kettlebell workout today. I kind of psyched myself into it last night. So today when I woke up and I was stiff, I was like, you know what? I gotta start working out again. So I feel good that I did that, and I did that with music on, music that gets me going, and it was
Yeah, that's
good
what I'm talking
for
about. That's
a few
that's
minutes. I
exactly
was just
right.
detached from the world and just focused on
Yeah,
my own health and my own well-being, and it's a
that's me.
good
That's
thing.
what I yeah. That's me.
Yeah. Danny,
Yeah,
how
man.
about you?
Have to.
What do you do to keep your powder dry?
Well, I do watch a lot of films, as you are aware of. I do a lot of watching movies and stuff. Um, I have really weaned myself off of any network news. I just haven't been. I may go 15, 20 minutes if I want to see what's going on with something, and then I walk away from
Turn
it.
my
I just
camera on, let it face you.
Can you mute yourself for a moment, music? You have a lot of background noise
But as
going on
far
there.
as uh, I really enjoy music myself. I have Sirius satellite radio on my phone and on my iPad, and I enjoy listening to my old 40s, 50s, and 60s music that I grew up with, and to me, that's my release.
Right. We have a new guest. It looks like musical Anna. Is that it?
Looks like her name's musical.
Yeah. It was either musical or musical Anna, something like that. Hello, are you there?
I'm only seeing part of it, so
Musical Anna going once, going twice. Guess not. Try to come back
she
up if
probably
you
doesn't know
want
right
to.
how she quit. She got upset because we muted her mic because it was not
I didn't mute her
working.
mic. I just asked her to mute her mic.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean, when you come onto a live and then you just start talking, that's kind of weird. But
Well, she may not have known she was,
yeah, it could have
you
been an
know.
accident. But I heard it sounded like she said I'm on camera, so and again, I could have been hearing something completely different. But anyway, if you'd like to come back up, musical Anna, feel free to request back up.
Hey, that could have been your third ex-wife. I mean,
Very
that
doubtful. Very doubtful.
seemed to be an attractive looking woman in the picture. So
That
she
is
looked.
not going to be enough ever.
I
I
know.
have I have had the good fortune of I've dated all sorts of women, from women that were thought of as attractive to women that were not, and I'm fine with it either way. If I like you, I like you, but that's definitely looks. psh, That's where it starts, but that definitely ain't going to be the thing. Oh, it looks like WKRP fell off again.
It's what's in the heart, not on the outside.
Well, it's both. Like it starts with the outside. That's the first encounter you have with someone is visual. And if you find each other pleasing visually, then you can move on from there. Let's see. Darlene
I'm
said
lucky. My
someone
wife
said
loves
that
my
Don
ass.
Jr. and Eric Dump should be like the Menendez brothers. Ooh, that's a very dark joke. But yeah, I don't think Don Jr. could steady his hands long enough.
Nah, he couldn't get to a press briefing without that having to take a snort. That's about it.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's clear since I was in that life until I was 23 years old, and it's easy to spot.
Yeah,
And he's clearly someone that is revved up most of the time.
oh, big time. I'm still think we need to get a DNA test on Eric Trump. He looks like Gary Busey's son, not Donald Trump's son.
Yeah, I
You look at
think
the
isn't
look at him.
isn't he like who's his mother? Is it Marla?
I think you're right. I don't think it was the first one. I don't think so.
Yeah, let me
Ivanka
check
is was that Marla's?
find out.
The that might have been Eric. Might have been. I
No,
don't know.
Ivanka was Ivana. That I think that was her mother.
Uh,
Who is Eric? Say their last name. We're gonna look it up right now, man. We're gonna get to the bottom of this right now.
I
Oh no, it was Ivana.
think was it. I
Yeah,
think that Marla had a daughter with Trump.
yeah,
Not
Tiffany,
Ivana, but the other daughter, whoever that other daughter is of
Tiffany,
Trump.
Tiffany.
Tiffany, yeah. That's Marla's, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, of
Okay.
course, Baron is Melania's. So.
Right. Although Eric makes sense because he actually does look like Ivana. He definitely has her facial structure. So, oh, Eyes of Fire shared the live. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody tapping away and sharing the lives. You know, it's uh, it's the only thing that we can do to let TikTok know that anybody finds this interesting. So, thank you for tapping away and sharing the live and all that good stuff. And I still have 67 out of 100 roses, so we need 33 more to knock those out. Anybody that's coming in now that feels wants to contribute a one coin to that, please feel free, or more, whatever your heart desires. All right, let's see. What do we got? Deciding vote came from Lisa Kowski. Oh, we just did it go through? Oh man, that would be awful.
There you go. Need a new goal, new gift.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. Hmm. Okay. Saying she's SMAT. I don't know what that is. SMAT? So let's see. New goal. Live. Me, everybody. What I take care of business. I want something else through this kind of life. Go for stuff. Oh, how about I'll do Community Fest. It's a one coin thing, and I'll do 50 of them. Kitty. Right. And if anybody does the heart me, hopefully the heart is somewhere over my head. Join my fan club, and in the coming weeks I'm going to be developing that fan club more extensively. I'm going to start doing some sessions in Discord so we could have a little bit freer conversations. Because I do get frustrated at the nonsensical TikTok language. Whoa, Lady Blue. Going wild. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. You guys are the best. All right, I'll leave that alone for a minute. So, I'm guessing WKRP's children kidnapped him.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe he's requested.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um. So yeah, I keep coming back to this feeling of frustration, and I apologize. 'Cause I generally don't like to speak negatively, but this is just real for me right now. With this bill looming over our heads, I just feel like we are we are in a place where America is going to transform into something that has no resemblance to the propaganda of what America is supposed to be, and is going to resemble Germany 2.0. So Eyes of Fire says, President has found a buyer for TikTok. Yeah, we knew that was coming. I think the only reason it was delayed was that he wasn't making enough, and he kept holding out until they cut him a bigger piece of the pie. That's just my wild imagination. I have no proof of that. But from day one, from the first time the ban was announced, I was the one saying there's no way that this platform is going down. And that 12-hour thing they did was just to get everybody's attention. But I knew it. When you have so much money and so many big players and so many billionaires, there's just no way that a platform like this is going to disappear. Not when literally half of America is on this platform. I mean, 170 million, the last time I checked a few weeks ago, that's insane. This is half the country. Like, I don't even think, I wonder if Facebook is even that. I don't know if they are. Hey, let me take a look at Facebook. I'm searching things in real time. Many and wow. They're saying that in America it's 250 million Facebook accounts. That doesn't even sound right. Vicky, hello. Yeah, my general topic is question mark, is America Germany 2.0? And we're talking about the various aspects of that, ICE and the prisons, the taking away of Medicare, Medicaid, the defunding cancer research and things like that. Pretty awful stuff. So, Vicky, I'm gonna invite you up if you so care to join us. Feel any pressure?
Oh,
Not an after school special. There we go. Hey, there you are. Hi, Vicky. How you doing? Vicky,
Hi.
can you hear me? Hello? Here's something, but
How's everything going?
oh, now we hear you. Good, good, good. So, why do you think that America is Germany 2.0? And of course, when I say Germany 2.0, I mean 1930s Germany 2.0. But why do you have the same impression I do?
Well, it has a lot to do with good old Stephen Miller and his plans for a whitey population and the concentration camps that they are building all over the United States and the potential unaliving of people. I see it happening and it's not good.
Yeah. Stephen Miller seems like he's a eugenicist because I think Dump quoted him recently as saying that he wants only 100 million people to be left in America.
Exactly. And I have read enough on eugenics, especially eugenics in America in the past, involving people who are disabled and autistic, that it terrifies me.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned this on Danny's Live. This is one of these things that I was shocked to learn recently, since I've learned a lot about World War II, but I know that there are essentially endless stories that come from that. But there was this thing called Action Fear, which means Action 4, and it had to do with the name of a building or a street that this one building was on that housed this office that was developed by Schmittler, whose goal was to get rid of disabled people. And they did. They euthanized, I think, something like 200,000 of them. Just insanity, you know? And it's feeling like that's like with the decisions that they're making, like how does a disabled person get along in America now? How do the sick, how do the elderly, like do they just literally want them to disappear from neglect? Is that the goal? You know, it's
I'm worried that that's the case.
yeah. Like I think about Gene Hackman, an actor who I grew up watching and loving in every project he ever did. I think the first thing I saw him in was The French Connection, which I think was like 71 or 72, something like that. I'll double check that. But, you know, he was 95 years old and his wife died. I'm sorry, his wife passed away. And yeah, it looks like it was 1971. His wife passed away, and because he was so infirmed, he just slowly went away. It took a week for him to just slowly pass. And it sounds like this is the goal here. Like let's just starve them of resources, remove any chance that they have of getting any help, and then they'll just slowly go away.
Yeah, I know as long as, like my son has a caseworker through he has a special form of Medicaid, which is called like basically a home health type thing, but not. And he has someone who checks on him monthly. And as long as he has that, we know that, someone is available. And he just checked on him yesterday and kind of gave him some reassurance. But that was before all, that was, before this or after the Senate vote, but before this. So who's to say what's going to happen after that?
Yeah, I invited Tucker Mix up because he asked an interesting question. Talked about it a little bit on Danny's live, but it got interrupted by someone's outburst. So, Danny, I want to pick up that question. Tucker Maker asks, can't we get human rights world court involved, like with Jack Smith? So, I suspect that you know way more about this than I do, Danny, but my understanding is that the international court only becomes relevant with regard to conflicts on like conflicts that America's involved in is the only time that the world court would have any kind of sway over America. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, it's only when during a conflict like WAR, human rights, uh,
Right,
stuff like that. Like they're doing down here when they were bombing Gaza and some of
right,
the stuff that was going on with the collateral damage of hospitals, stuff like that. Uh, Eventually, that's going to all end up in the in the Hague at the World Court.
right,
Eventually, it's not going to
right.
happen as long as and BB is going to be held accountable eventually by that.
Yeah, isn't he already like wanted?
Yes,
Like there's countries that he
because he
avoids
fights Trump.
because he would be arrested. Uh,
Yeah,
we
plus
have
that he never leaves Israel. As you
right, right,
notice, he never leaves Israel.
right. Except he's coming to America next week, I believe.
Yeah, but that's a
But
friendly territory.
yeah, yeah. Lady Blue, how you doing? Lady Blue, are you there? You might have requested up by accident and not realize that you're here. Yeah, it looks like that's the case. Um, Vicky, I muted you only because you were tapping and that was coming through, but I am inviting you to unmute.
Sorry about
Looks like
that.
no worries, no
I do
worries.
like to
That
tap.
that happens a lot. CompuBear, how you doing?
Hey guys, good to see you again. Told you I'd be back. I had stuff to do
Yes,
today. I am
excellent,
so
excellent.
excited because it it failed. The vote failed. Now,
Did it?
not for the reasons that we might necessarily like it, because the Freedom Caucus refused to vote on it. And okay, great. And 4 Republicans crossed over. That's good, but it failed.
Interesting.
What was the Freedom Caucus's reason for refusing?
The Freedom Caucus refused because of the fiscal responsibility of it. It put too much that and did not take enough away from the people.
You know, it's so simple. If they would just not give the tax cuts, they wouldn't have to take from the people.
Right.
I'm not disagreeing. You asked why the Freedom Caucus,
I
didn't want to
know, I
vote.
know,
And and
I
and
know.
and and I'll take a win. I'll take a win, even if their complaint was that that they're not taking away enough benefits, that it didn't equal out. And in some ways, yeah, there's too much of a tax cut, but they didn't take enough away. Is their thing? They want zero.
Um,
So I'll take that win.
yeah. Yeah, me too. Bar Keel says something I don't understand. Jade Helm 15, they already tested. Now is for real. I don't know what any of that means. Does anybody know who Jade Helm is?
Nope.
Yeah, Tucker
Not a
Maker
clue what he's
says,
talking about.
Tucker Makes rather says they do not care. And yeah, I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious because to me, and I'd like everybody's opinion on this. Like, I have, I guess, possibly an oversimplified way of evaluating a government. I look at the decisions that it makes on behalf of its citizens. So when I see governments that ban Monsanto, have universal health care and universal college and child care and upward mobility, and people don't lose their houses if they have a car accident or something like that seems like a government that is working on behalf of the citizens. And I mean, perhaps that's oversimplified, but what does anybody else think about that?
I'm still going with the fact that the tax cut that they did in 2017. We're still paying on that now. I mean, that hurt us so bad that it's $1.9 trillion that we're still hurting from because of that tax cut. And now they want to make this tax cut permanent, right? They're not looking at it as actually filing another tax cut as much as extending the tax cut they already have. And that's their view at looking at it, right? But the only people it helps are the wealthy. And people are getting some of the people are waking up to realizing that even when they said they were not going to do tax on overtime, well, that's only tax on overtime on the first 12,000 that you make, right? That's not taxed. Everything above and beyond that is taxed. So it was just a crumb that
Oh,
they
I
were
heard it was.
throwing.
I heard it was different. I heard it wasn't even that it was no taxes. I heard that it was a tax credit after you file.
Yeah, but it's only on the first 12,000
Right.
of
So
overtime that you make.
you wind up paying the tax and then getting a tax credit, which is not the same
Correct.
as like saving money, really. I mean, you're not
No,
actually getting tangible cash.
no, no. And the tax on no tips, people don't realize, and I kept trying to explain it to people, that it was tax on no tips on cash only.
Right.
So if they still tipped you with a credit card, then you still had to pay tax on that credit card. Well, most people don't report their cash tips anyway. So it's not going to be any different. It's not going to make a difference
Right.
really in these people's lives. And they don't realize that it was just a crumb so that they could get the tax, so that the rich could get their tax credit, right? We're going to throw you a crumb so you'll vote for us and you'll,
Right.
want to do this in
Right.
exchange for our tax credit.
It's all
And that's going to
optics.
hurt us. It is. It's all optics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you end up with the fact that in order to balance this out, they have to take away the Medicaid, they have to take away the food stamps, they have to hurt the poorest of the poor in order to be able to get their tax cut. They're trying to take us back to 1890 is what they're trying to take us back to. And Trump has said that very many times. He feels it's the golden age, although it was called the Gilded Age, and he wants to take us back to that time. But at that time, 90% of the people, in four people, sorry, 1 in 4 people had no food and no housing during that time. And while it was a smaller population, and they look at, oh, it was only 1 million people, yeah, but there were only 4 million people, like, right, kind of thing. The percentage now, if we had 1 in 4 people not having housing and not having food, it would be horrific.
Well, I believe 1 in 5 homes in America is food insecure, which is a horrifying statistic. But again, this goes to my point about trying to evaluate government. So, Vicky or Danny, like, how would you evaluate a government? Like, does it make sense to evaluate them based on the decisions that they make for the citizens, or is there a better criteria to figure that out?
Well, I always judge them or put them in a measurement of what they do, not what they say. And I mean, there's a lot of bluster coming from Washington D.C., but I, I've come to the conclusion, especially the last 20 years, that if you ain't walking the walk, I don't care about how you talk. I want to make sure that you're actually doing what you say you're going to do, and that's my biggest thing about them. This tax thing that CompuBear was talking about is right. It's a tax credit that they get at the end of the year, if they do get any at all. Uh, and with all there's a lot of tips that people not even never reports because they're
Right.
cash tips at restaurants and bars and all other sorts of places. So and taxi cab drivers and stuff like that get a lot of cash tips and stuff. So I don't know how they people think that that's a big benefit or reason to vote for them. Matter of fact, I don't think there's anything that they could say to me that would make me vote for anybody right now because I have lost complete trust in our government and the people that are running for office because they
Yeah.
just want your vote. And then once they get their $180,000 a year job and start drifting off the K Street lobbyists and the billionaires and stuff. It's all about money, as much money as they can for the number of years they get reelected each time. And then when they're done grifting, then they become lobbyists and they
Right.
become grifters. So
Yeah, they
I don't
just
know how
trade
y'all feel,
seats.
but that's how I feel.
So,
Yeah,
before we get to Vicky's thoughts on this, FM said a brilliant thing. Auto workers are crying all the way to the bank. No taxes on OT is a game changer. So, the reason why I wanted to highlight that comment is that it's a perfect example of a propaganda parrot, just repeating what Dump says without any investigation into it. Because here's what's going to happen. Almost certainly, employers are going to do what Walmart does and make sure that nobody gets overtime, right? It's that simple. But I'm sorry, Vicky, what were you going to say?
oh, I was just going to basically say a lot of what Danny said. I'm at the point where I don't trust them. Of course, I grew up in Texas, and I had the pleasure of being in Texas during Ann Richards,
Right.
and it was a totally different time.
Yep.
And, I'm an old fart. I'm 62.
Oh,
And
you're a kid.
I know I'm a young pup to you, Danny. But for a lot of people, I am old. And now I live in hell. I live in Arkansas, and it's the arsehole of the world, I think. And we have the number one, we're number one in food insecurity. We're right up there, almost dead last in education and the happiness factor, which is really bizarre. I mean, I didn't even know there was a happiness scale, but we fail on that one too. I think Sarah actually thinks that the higher the number that is, that means that she's doing great. And it's not.
Right.
She doesn't care.
She's the worst.
Oh, yes.
But, she got her comeuppance after swinging from Donnie for years. When she needed help, he was like, nah, I'm not interested.
Yep.
It just there's got to be a solution. And unfortunately, none of the solutions sound good in terms of like what has to happen for radical change to take place, because the catch 22 is that the people that have the power to change the system are the very people that are benefiting from how the system is right now. So what do you do? Is it Russian Bolshevik revolution time? Because that's crazy, right? And I don't even think it's possible to have that happen at this point, because you got 48% of voters still thinking that this clown is a good idea.
Because every time he opens his mouth, they think it's gold.
Yeah. Let's see. Already have all the money. Look up the BIS. Banks. Tucker says, why I'm just done. I fought for 7 years. Yeah, and that's another thing. They have the resources to outlast us. They know that we're going to get tired, because when you're exhausted all the time just trying to make sure that you can eat and have a roof over your head, there's no more time or energy for anything else. And I apologize for being so gloomy today. I guess I just had to get it out today, but I'll try to have a more productive conversation tomorrow. But it's just hard to watch all this. That's the bottom line. It's hard to watch. It's hard to believe that I was so right starting 40 years ago, because that's when I started talking about this stuff. I started talking about the what America really is versus what it says it is, and I never expected it to get like this though. I always knew it was possible, because it's possible anywhere, right? Like we've seen it. We've seen even in the last 20 years, and certainly in the last 50 years, countries that were democratic get flipped to fascists and all that stuff, or, a brutal dictator takes over. That happened in Chile, and it happens. It's just one of those things that happens. But people kept telling me it couldn't happen in America. And I was like, I don't see why not. And I was hoping to be wrong about that. I was hoping that people were right, that it couldn't happen in America, but I couldn't find anything to substantiate that kind of confidence that it couldn't happen here. And now it took almost nothing to have that happen. This wasn't some kind of like coup where like in Russia, where a, a bunch of dudes burst into a room and rat-a-tat-tat until the leadership is all gone, and then like take over the place, or some, extended battle between rivals. It was just like, oh, we got a clown in office now, and he's just doing clown shit. Right? Isn't that surprising, Danny, that it took so little for all of this to happen? Or am I way off on this?
Not at all. At all. Be honest with you. No, and I understand your frustration, and you kind of got you have the Debbie Downers because all of us do. We're not. Uh, we have. I have more of a gut feeling that things could go wrong than go right at this point in time. Be honest with you. You know. So it's happening already. My daughter car broke down on the way home. So now I have another issue I got to help try, and she's in Texas.
Mm,
So I know what I'll be doing tomorrow. I'll be on the phone trying to help her out, and because
right.
it's a mess. But again, uh, when everything is going wrong, I think it can get worse, and I think that's what's going to happen before it gets better.
So Eyes of Fire has made an observation. I'd like us to discuss it. It is this the return of indentured servitude and people owning people? And I'll start. I don't think it ever ended. I just don't. I don't believe that. Like it ended in like the most obvious ways of like literally humans owning humans, but the movement of it, the reality of it didn't end. Like we talked about earlier, these giant corporations that benefit from immigrant labor. My suspicion, and I can't prove this yet, and maybe one day I'll be ambitious enough to try to find proof, but I think one of the reasons why getting legal status in America takes so long is because that gives big businesses a nice big window for them to exploit workers. And the 13th Amendment said specifically, you know, owning humans is wrong unless they're in prison. It's literally in the first paragraph, right? I think it's like within the first two or three sentences where they're like, yeah, the 13th Amendment says that this stuff is wrong, unless. So, in my opinion, it never really went away. I mean, worldwide, it's still a huge industry, but even in America, it seems to be a significant portion of what goes on in America. But what do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, ladies. Speak.
I tend to agree with you, especially if you look at our penal system. They incarcerate people for next to, I mean, look at the number of people we have in our prisons for marijuana, for simple drug
Yeah, I
charges,
don't think we
and
can't
they are
say those
being
words.
forced.
We
Oh,
can't
Yeah.
name the
for
specific
yeah,
substances,
okay,
and we have to say D-rug or some other shit like that.
yeah,
Sorry.
okay, yeah. That how many people are in behind bars for drugs and other substances, and they are being forced to work and make pennies on the dollar, and the people that own the facilities make a lot of money off of them, and they don't ever see any of it. And that is just modern day slavery. And then you look at the people that like the people that work at Walmart. It is a never ending cycle. You were talking about it earlier in another live, how they Walmart gets money from the federal government, and then the people, it's just that the people get food stamps because they don't make enough money from Walmart, so they spend those food stamps at Walmart, then they spend the rest of their money at Walmart, so it's a vicious cycle, and it never ends.
CompuBear.
I'm not even sure what to say at this point. That I haven't already said, right? Because I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
sound like a broken record. Well, and I don't. I don't want to sound like a broken record. But I think there's a lot of changes that need to be made. And as one of the people in the chat pointed out, we need to change Citizens United.
Absolutely.
And there are people that are writing amendments to change Citizens United, but that would take a vote from Congress. It would take two-thirds of the states to ratify it. We couldn't even get women's rights ratified. I'm not sure how we would get a bill that said corporations aren't people and that we don't want them infinitely dumping into our legal system. And now with this new Supreme Court ruling, which is J.D. Vance versus the United States, saying that PACs, up until this point, a person running for office could not have any influence on their PAC. And he's suing to say that now anything that's collected by a PAC, the the person running now has power over that money. So it effectively goes into their pockets, which means since corporations can infinitely put into PACs, you have a situation where you have corporations that pay all this money to PACs, and all of the money in PACs can now be controlled by the person running for whatever office it is. And so it's unlimited funds for them to do whatever they want with. And there's no checks and balances on it. And if you have infinite money to run your campaign, um, you're going to be in a very sad situation. And right now, Trump has control over the Republican Party completely and thoroughly. And as he points out, anyone that disagrees with him, he will primary him. And to me, that should be totally illegal. I mean, that should not even exist.
Yeah, that's
It
gangster
means
shit.
that no one has a chance of winning if you don't believe in Trump. And to me, that takes away the whole free right. I mean, if Lincoln wanted to run today, he couldn't because he came from a poor, dirt farm, right?
Hmm.
He couldn't run today. Jimmy Carter couldn't run today because he wouldn't have that kind of backing, which means that only the rich can run now, and only those people, and they're just going to get richer by having all that money. So,
I want to go on a short rant about street candy. I want to preface it by saying I don't indulge. I stopped in 1987. This September is 38 years since I stopped, if I live that long. So I have no horse in the race. I'm not advocating for myself. I don't understand the logic. Maybe somebody could help me understand it. How is it that a government can tell adults how they are allowed to make themselves feel good? And yet, like, some substances are okay. You can get them at the convenience store next to the milk. And some substances are like, oh, no, no, no. You can't be trusted to use that. I don't get that at all. There are no arguments that I've ever heard that make sense. Like, the first thing people usually say is, well, H will make you drop. So will peanuts. So will Tylenol. I think 3,000 people a year go because of Tylenol. Nobody's trying to ban that. Nobody's trying to ban peanuts. You know, so I don't get it. What am I missing? Can anybody enlighten me on this?
so what they're weighing is the cost of rehab, the cost of taking care of people who cannot take care of themselves. For instance, let's just go with Mary Jane.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you can't overdose on Mary Jane.
Right.
There's only been 2 recorded cases of anyone actually unaliving from having taken it.
Oh, I actually always heard there was 0.
No, there's 2.
Okay.
One person took a brownie, freaked out at a hotel in Denver, where I live, and ran off a balcony, jumped off a balcony.
Okay, so that wasn't the Mary Jane necessarily that did it, but I get what you're saying. Hey, make the
Right.
rounds. Good to see you, brother.
And,
Um,
and then there
Go ahead.
and then there was one other person in Colorado as well who technically it is. They took some and it was so much that they ended up having a heart attack and dying.
Unaliving. Okay, so I got to look into
Unaliving.
that because I've definitely never heard of those cases, but thank you for that. So
That's
we're
out of both
talking
of them are
about
out of Colorado.
we're talking about 2 people in how many hundreds of
Right.
years of use?
And so my,
Right?
my point
Right?
being is that so that's okay to use because it's really, really, really hard to unalive from it, right? But something like H, which even the smallest of doses and not regulated, I would like to see it regulated and just given out if somebody wants it, right? I'd much rather see that happen than having it unregulated because there's no regulation, there's no dosage. I mean, at least now on Mary Jane in Colorado, and I don't know about the rest of the place, it's regulated. I mean, you know how much, as it puts out, hippie calories are in each dosage, but you don't have that regulation on H. And because it's street and sometimes it's stronger and sometimes it's less, and because nobody knows, it's really easy to unalive from it because of it. There's no way to tell. If it were regulated, then you would have a lot less people, you know, unaliving from it because it's regulated and they know how much. And so, in order to keep this from happening, or even this vent stuff going around, right? It's not regulated, and so sometimes it's stronger, and sometimes it's not. And I think everybody would be better off if we just regulated all of it and said,
So,
okay, you want to do this, do it. But,
right.
you know,
I agree with that because tobacco from 1980 to 2021, we lost 7.25 million people from that. Alcohol, 1.81 million. So, and illicit drug use, I'm sorry, illicit drug use starts at 463,000 in that same time period. So the boogeyman that they've created just isn't real. You know, that's when I look at all the factors, because you bring up an important one in terms of like treating people and that kind of stuff, because we actually have 2 or 3 large countries that made everything legal, and what they saw was everything improve. You know, when it becomes legal, not only is there tax revenue that goes to the government, which is a good thing. I mean, we've seen some states that used to be underwater financially, and as soon as they legalize certain things, they balance their budget, and in some cases had surpluses. So I
Colorado
I
is a
I
prime
don't
example of
see an argument right now where it makes sense to tell adults that they're not allowed to choose which way to feel good.
that. Yep. Washington State and Colorado, since they legalized that the Mary Jane stuff, have gained tremendously on revenue, on
Hmm.
tax on that, and
and what and what's really cool is this week they just gave $210 back to every resident on their electric bills. They
yep,
credited it back on their electric bill because they had so much of a surplus from the sale of it that
yep,
every citizen got, every electric house got a $210 credit back on their
a
electric
free
bill.
month. Yeah,
So
pretty
we
much a
have
free
That's
month of
incredible.
electricity.
we have a new guest, Peace Love F
So I also
Elon.
want, yeah, I want to throw an interesting fact.
Go ahead.
Mexico actually almost, the Mexican citizens lost a huge amount of income because nobody is buying Mary Jane from them anymore.
Yep.
And they found no reason to make it, grow it, sell it, do anything with it anymore because there's no market in the United States anymore for them because of it being regulated and you can buy it anywhere here and in better quality. So
That also
So
took like 60 years though.
is that peace, love, F, Elon?
Hey.
Hi, how you doing? I believe this is your first time on my live, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Well, just for the purposes of TikTok, are you at least 18 years old?
40, Vermont,
That's all I
couple
would need
kids.
to know. Over 18. Yes, that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what are your thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, I feel like this is like one of the conversations I've been in tonight that's like liberating, honestly. I'm
Oh,
from
good.
Vermont.
Well, that's nice. So, and because again, my thoughts are, even though I don't partake in any way, um, I don't understand the logic of telling adults they can't feel good the way they want to feel good. And since other countries have shown us examples of all the positive things that happen, because one of the things that we haven't mentioned is the elimination of the black market, essentially, right? Because once you legalize everything, well, there goes the black market. So you eliminate this huge swath of crime. You don't have to constantly be processing people to your jails because that costs a lot of money also. Because the WAR on this stuff has been devastating to entire communities and the only people that seem to benefit of it from it are the people that are in charge of these big budgets for these law enforcement agencies. But again, I'm always I've been trying to get different information for the last few years, but I can't see a perspective that makes it make sense to tell people, no, you can feel good with these substances, but you can't feel good with those substances over there.
it's control.
Yeah, thank you. Do you live in the United States?
I do, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, we're in like a different time right now, right, than we were 10 years ago or 60 years ago. And like there was a movement, there was a musical movement 60 years ago. And I'm like leaning hard into that about what I don't know exactly what state you live in, but United States, like we don't care about pot right now as a whole.
We can't name the substances, by the way.
Yeah, but what should I say?
Mary Jane is fine, I guess.
Okay. As a whole in the United States, like Mary Jane is not a concern. Do you agree?
Yeah, I just wonder why any of it is a concern.
Mary Jane's not. If I can speak candidly, um pew pews are, if we can speak candidly. There's a there's a resilience and a I don't know if the right word is resilience, but we're in a different time than Mary Jane.
Hi, Cherry, how you doing? Right, yeah, we're in a different time. I get that. Um, but does it? Because some people draw the lines. Some people will like point out specific substances and say they're okay. These others are not. Like, do you have that in your mind that way as well, or do you see it all kind of like I do, which is like it feels ridiculous to prohibit any of it.
So with F, it is so easy to accidentally OD. It is so easy. And especially because it's not regulated, the dosages are different all the time. What may be okay, one tablet may be okay one day, one tablet is not okay the second day.
But we could say that for just about every pharmaceutical, right?
No, because most pharmaceuticals are regulated.
But I'm saying if they're not regulated, it's the same
Right.
thing. So what I'm saying is once you make things legal, then
Because
regulation generally falls right in line behind that.
And if I
agreed, but
may,
I'm explaining why fentanyl why sorry F is isn't why they're pushing so hard to get it to stop, because so many people have become addicted to it. And I mean, it's just this mass, like, brain wanting to brain numb, right? And so many people are unaliving because of it, that people feel they need to control it in order to be able to get it to stop, to get people from stop
I'm gonna
unaliving
hop
even
off.
accidentally.
I'm gonna
And
hop
you're
off
right, it's
on
the
this.
opposite.
Hold on
I'm
one
gonna hop
second.
off on this.
No
I'm gonna
worries.
hop off on this
Thank you
live.
for stopping by. Appreciate it. You're welcome anytime. I'm here Monday through Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern. So thank you again for stopping in. And so what you're saying, Comedy Bear, it sounds very familiar to me because I've heard that about every substance for the longest time. And for a while, Mary Jane was spoken about the same way also, right? So I find that there's a lot of hyperbole behind this stuff. And that is not to dismiss anything you said, but I I wonder if part of the issue is the prohibition itself, because that's what we saw in the 20s, right? Because for a lot of people don't remember that opioids became illegal in 1912. It was part of some tax act, I think the Keller Act or something like that, and they included that in that tax bill, and that's when they became illegal. So obviously they were considered a problem back then, but we saw the same thing happen when alcohol became prohibited, and it just seems to me that prohibition is a factor, and once things are not prohibited, then the desire for them seems to change. Does that make sense?
I'm totally, I totally follow you with that. You were asking why people were doing what they were doing, right? You were looking for
Mm-hmm.
the other side, and so I
Mm-hmm.
was answering your
No,
question.
I'm not referring to the last answer.
And I
I'm
totally agree with you. I
yeah.
think we should legalize everything and get people the help we need. If we spent half as much money on rehab and psychological and helping people with it, and making it legal, and doing it that way, than we do trying to keep it from coming over the border. We would save half, I mean, literally half the amount of money we're spending now trying to fight this, right?
Right.
And doing it that way. And that is so true, but so many people cannot see it that way, and
Right.
they see it as being immoral on top of that, to legalize it. So if it's immoral, then it's not something we can do either. But I'm
America
with
and
you. I'm
immoral. That's
totally with you.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I'm totally with you on this. I totally believe in what you do. I have said for eons of years we need to make it all legal. My father was actually one of the first people that started a Mary Jane opposition, making it legal 60 years ago in
Interesting.
California. Um, and we actually celebrated when they made it legal in California. My dad and I sat down and had Mary Jane together just to celebrate the fact that it was legal, and it took 60 years in California from the time he started it to getting it legal. So I just thought that was interesting, but I do
And
believe all drugs should be legal. And
uh
let's spend the let's
D
they've
rugs.
proven.
So I'm glad you brought up California because that actually plays a role in the story of how it became illegal to begin with. But I just looked up quickly how many countries either legalized or decriminalized these substances. And so far, I've got Portugal, Canada, Uruguay, Mexico, and when you look at the stories, meaning the results of the decriminalization or the legalization, what you find is everything that you just described. You know, the cost of enforcement obviously goes away. The cost of care changes drastically because now we're not dealing with the severe aspects of it. We're dealing with more manageable aspects of it. And I encourage everybody to just look into the stories of the countries that made this change. And it seems like by far, not even close, a net positive, you know? So, you know, and how California uh, plays into this, and you probably know this from your father. Um, the what's the big family? Hearst. William Randolph Hearst was a newspaper and magazine publisher, and his company still exists. And he also had acres and acres of lumber yards, so he was making money kind of on both ends. And when hemp was introduced into America, it was discovered very quickly that it was far superior than wood and wood products. And this threatened Hearst. So he was the first one to start the smear campaign against hemp. And it succeeded. He convinced everybody that it made Mexicans lazy and it made other brown people savage and all this other shit. And, you know, he has that big Hearst Castle in California. He also did another favor for California, is that he introduced wild hogs in a country that didn't have them, and now they're everywhere.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, apparently they have to pay hunters in California to try to manage the population of wild hogs.
I think
All
they do
because
in
of him.
Texas too.
In Texas too, yeah, it's a big problem there. And in Hawaii, it's axis deer that's overrunning the place, and it's the same thing. They put guys up in helicopters and try to take them out because they're just everywhere. But hogs are worse because hogs are invasive, and they are a species that replicates extremely quickly because a pig can get pregnant at 6 months of age. Just useless facts that I have in my head. Anyway, let's
You
do
were
some
you
final
were
thoughts
talking
and
about
wrap.
hemp.
I'm sorry?
You you were talking about hemp, and I wanted to throw in a statistic
Yes, please.
that the Navy still uses 150-year-old hemp ropes that they made back when hemp was legal, right? And
Mhm.
they're still in use today, and they're maybe a little wear on them, but pretty much still as good as they were 150 years ago when they made
Yeah.
them. And yet the nylon ropes that we're now stuck making because we can't use hemp anymore, they only last 10 years before they start falling apart. And it's not good for the ocean for the nylon to fall apart. And they keep having to replace them. And I've heard a lot of Navy people say, I really wish we could go back to making these hemp ropes again that have lasted all of these years. So it just goes, it's a crop that grows very, very fast. It's inexpensive to process, and the quality lasts, well, we know now for 150 years. So let's
Yeah.
keep going.
It's actually, I would say, kind of like an alien plant because the characteristics are so bizarre. I believe something like 10,000 different products can be made from it, and the fiber is much stronger. The paper products are better, and it is one of the fastest growing plants in the world. So, you know, the fact that Hearst vilified it, and I just remember too another little bit of trivia regarding hemp. The first bumpers on cars that Ford made were made out of hemp. So,
And now we
um,
go back to Texas just passed a bill to not allow them to grow hemp again.
right.
And you have all of these people in Texas who used to be cotton farms that went, they redid them for being hemp farms, and now they're having to shut them all down.
Same
Yep.
thing in Arkansas.
All right. Well, we're going to start to
Cut off
wrap
her
it up.
nose to
So,
spite her face.
CompuBear, thank you so much for being here. You are welcomed anytime. Appreciate your contribution.
Thank
A
you so
great
much, and thank
night.
you for having me.
Absolutely. And Vicky, any final thoughts?
No, just I appreciate you welcoming me again, and it's a pleasure. I like being able to be among like-minded people and keeping current. And once again, thank you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate Danny and everybody else.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a great night. We'll see you soon, hopefully. All right. Danny, my friend. Final
Well, you had a
thoughts,
good
sir.
live tonight.
Yeah, good
You
live,
had a
good
good
live.
live tonight.
Got up to 27,000. You people rock. I'm always amazed at all the likes you send me. It's not as impressive as Danny's live, but Danny is way more likable than I am. So,
Oh, I don't know about that,
oh,
but
I
I
do.
just been.
So,
I'm on
oh,
an extra hour too, so that helps
yeah,
to get that extra.
yeah,
But I am constantly talking to him about tapping the screen, sharing up the live. That helps too.
yeah, yeah.
But
I
you
got to
do
get
your
better than
fair
that. I
share.
get
I
wrapped
do
up
my
in the
fair share.
conversation.
Well, I do mine in the chat. I tell the chat to thank them for their tapping and shares. So I was doing my thing down there. But anyway, it was a good live, and the subjects were awesome, and the women contributed immensely. Even
Fantastic panel.
WKRP, he was awake during this one. So except for
No,
the kids.
no, but no, every contribution was excellent. I definitely appreciate the
It was
panel.
tonight.
So your final thoughts on any of the topics or anything else that you want to mention?
I am going to reiterate that don't get overexcited about the fourth as far as the big beautiful bill. It ain't going to happen on the fourth. I'm pretty firm, 10 toes down that it's not going to happen on the fourth. If it does, um, I'll be surprised as all get out. I mean I won't even. But I don't see how they can because I think they're going to change it enough where it's got to go back to the Senate. And and I know those people don't like working on any holiday
Right.
whatsoever. You know, so I don't think that's going to happen. But I do expect it's going to happen either next week or by the 15th of the month. It's going to be taken care of. But that's my final thought.
So
That's my
let me do a quick commercial for you, folks. If you are not following Danny, not sitting in on his lives, you are missing a very, very significant part of TikTok. Because as we know, social media is double-edged. Right? A lot of garbage, but there are a few gems there, and Danny's one of them. Please follow him. Please come to his lives Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. He goes for 3 hours. He's a trooper. And this Friday coming up, and every Friday is normally Casual Friday, and we do trivia, and it is so much fucking fun. I honestly didn't expect. I thought it was interesting. I was like, oh yeah, trivia, that's cool. Let's do that. But I had no idea it was going to be so much. We laugh a lot during trivia. So please, please check it out. And Danny, as always, I appreciate you, brother. I will talk to you again soon. And by the way, did you ever check that one thing in studio?
No, but I'm as soon as we get off of here, I'm going to turn on my laptop in the
Okay.
office and just for giggles, I'm going
Yeah,
to see. I
I'm just
did
curious
see
if they changed that. So, let me know one way or the other. All right. But until
2
then,
years ago. I
yeah,
saw a video 2 years ago on TikTok Live. It was an instructional video, and they say normally you got to have 10,000 or more on the instructional, but there is even 2 years ago they were saying if you're listed under as a gamer, you
right,
only need 1,000 to 2,000,
right.
or if you're with an agency, somehow the agency can get you in the
Oh,
studio live before that. So
okay.
I'm going to look at that and see if, like you said, go up there in that corner and see if I have access. It'll
Right.
either tell me no or tell me yes,
But
one way
if
or
you
the other.
don't, it's possible that Penelope can help you with that. But anyway, all right. That's good.
That's true.
Well, have a great night, buddy. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, folks. We've reached the end of another Yoddah Live. Thank you, everybody. I know a bunch of you were here for the whole thing, and that's amazing. And I'm here again tomorrow for, in this volatile time. I'm going 6 days a week because we always have a lot to talk about. So, after that, I'll probably downshift a little bit. But I do have a new channel that I'm starting. It's Coach Yoddah. Coach.Yoddah is my TikTok username. So I'm going to start promoting that because I want to develop the coaching side of my life. But until then, peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon. Have a great night, everybody.